We have just under 30 seconds before we start the session for the day.
200 countdown.
So we are over 200, and thank you very, very much for joining us this afternoon. It's 2:35 and we're going to start this session. In order to take the session further, I'd like to hand over the panel to our president, Mr. Dushyant Mulani. Dushyant bhai, please request you to take things further.
Hearty welcome to all participants. This is our first webinar of the new term. The young and energetic team of BCBA has conceptualized this for past 1 month, and our IPP also is here, Mr. Kiran Namra. He was the one to have guided us to get it done. Point is, compliance of SCOMET norms have become very important and crucial for in the process of custom clearance, whether be it import or export. SCOMET treaty was signed by Government of India. It's an international treaty, and we need to understand the nuances of this particular notification, which has been issued by CBIC, and now through our Directorate of Systems, there are targets available in EDI system for imports and exports both, for complying to ensure that importers and exporters are complying to the SCOMET norms. There have been several instances where one was oblivious of these compliances. Even at officer level, they were not aware about the compliances at all. For exports, late export order was generated. Shipment going abroad to the overseas destination from the recipient country. There was a communication to Indian government, and then finally through DGARM, which is wing of CBIC under Directorate of Systems, we get the alerts to the jurisdictional commissioners for issuing show cause notices that why these compliances were not met. And friends, considerable custom brokers have got show cause notices for non-compliance of this SCOMET on behalf of their clients also. So this is where we start, that what is this SCOMET treaty about? What is the notification? How this needs to be complied? What needs to be done when there is a alert in the officer screen for complying this at the time of clearance? If the compliance is not done, then what is to be done? And if your item does not fall under the purview of that SCOMET list, yet if the alert is there on the screen, what needs to be done in that case? We are fortunate here today that we have a industry expert and a leading consultant, Mr. Joshua Ebenezer. He will be guiding us today. Joshua, thank you for being here with us. You've been a real help to entire custom brokers fraternity, and we are fortunate to have you here. So, not taking much of your time, friends, I would request Sanjeev to just introduce Joshua, and we'll start bang on. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, President. Friends, we are living in a time of a changing regulatory landscape. As brokers, we are directly involved in pointing out compliance issues with our clients. On behalf of President and our entire managing committee, I am privileged to introduce to you our guest of honor and speaker this afternoon. Our distinguished guest has decades of experience in trade and customs advisory. He currently directs Newco Facilitrade, a technology-based consulting firm advising on customs and trade matters. He was a director of customs and international trade advisory with a leading tax law firm, LNS Attorneys, Mumbai. He speaks at World Customs Organization conferences. He is a core member of Confederation of Indian Industry on Ease of Doing Business. He is a lead speaker on trade and customs matters for FFAI, BCBA, PLEA, FIEO, ChemExskill, and other leading associations and law schools. Without further ado, please join me in welcoming our distinguished speaker, Mr. Joshua Ebenezer.
Thank you. Thank you, Sanjeev, for the nice introduction. Good afternoon to all the members who are participating virtually, and some of my friends seated here in the office, Tej Contractor, Dr. Nirav, and to all other executive committee members. It's so wonderful to meet you all once again this afternoon on a different, unique topic, SCOMET. In the year 2018, I happened to address a gathering where I asked a question to the participants. Have you ever heard about SCOMET? Everybody said yes, and they gave a very clear answer, right answer. And subsequent to that, when I asked a few more questions, they weren't able to give a right answer. This was way back, 5 years back. No one in the industry worried about a compliance like this. Let me put it in a different way. If you open your customs law manual, it covers host of everything, entire Customs Act, allied acts, all the process procedures. Even there, you will not find a suitable guidance given for SCOMET compliance. And the trade never reprimanded by customs at any point in time. You have not fulfilled SCOMET conditions. So it was there existing. We were party to agreements, we were party to conventions, we were party to formal and informal arrangements, but it was not implemented. How should you understand, for example, environmental law? This is not something new in our country. But of late, after NGT came into existence, when they started giving verdicts, people got rattled. Consultants woke up and they were running after people to comply with NGT directives. Exactly the same way, we had this kind of a compliance requirements, obligations on us, but it was not enforced. So in today's session, there is no right or wrong. None of you who are attending the session should feel, I am in this field for so many years. How come that I missed out? You should never have that embarrassment. Point one. Number two, today, I am not addressing to customs, exporters. I'm addressing to customs brokers in this country who are the facilitators, like Mr. P.K. Agarwal said, the bridge. Who are the bridge between the ignorant exporter on whom the responsibilities are casted, and if he fails to comply to the requirements, obviously customs brokers are also getting affected. So when an exporter approaches you, how you should be prepared to explain to him. There are debates happening when there is a merchant export, when there is a manufacturing export. Someone will say, I am not responsible, he is responsible. So who need to be doing what? What is the role of a customs broker? And how long that we will be telling that I do not know, we were not aware. RMS system did not pop up something like that. If this is such an important thing, why the government should not do this? We can have so many blame games like that. But end of the day, in today's scenario, 2022, goods are getting stopped. Notices are being issued. People are running from pillar to post. Besides their transactional activities, this is coming like a burden to them. So I'm glad that BCBA had taken note of that and conducting a session of this topic, which will definitely serve some amount of purpose to the audience who are listening to me today. So what we can expect from the session today? There are two ways. Always the broker wants to know, okay, how do I register? Like what Dushyant pointed out. If there is a query comes, how do I do? Post exports, if there is a query comes, how do I respond? How do I absolve myself from this and put the blame on exporter? We are not going to look into the procedural aspect. What is an application, how it looks like? What is ANF form? What we need to do? Probably you can conduct another workshop and there you can go line by line and you can help your members, whoever is connected with you, to get a better understanding in that way. Today, the next 90 minutes, we will be talking about concepts, examples, why. This fundamentally will clear all your doubts in your mind. And then when you speak to the customs officer or when you speak to your exporter client, this will give a very good clarity. The whole purpose of this session today is to bring this one purpose. The next 90 minutes, you will leave this call with this one understanding. Yes, I have learned something new today. And don't worry about the acronyms. Don't worry about the new words which you are going to hear today. These are all you will get familiarized. And if you read some articles on that line, you can get yourself abreast. So feel comfortable, have your own notes, switch off your phones or just stay focused and you will understand the concept. So the first part, next 45 minutes, we'll be focusing on this. Then I'll give a 5 minutes break for you to just go for a relax and then come back in the next 45 minutes. We'll continue the remainder of the discussion. All right. So I'll switch to a PowerPoint mode through which I'll be able to walk you through. All right. I'm also keeping one thing in mind. I believe there are informed custom brokers who have studied what is SCOMET. And I also believe there are people who are working in the area of SCOMET of applying license and getting it. But there are a lot of people who are there in the call would like to know more about it. So since I see larger participations coming from a layman perspective, it is also my responsibility to go slowly and to explain things in a much better way. So this slide will give you a clear idea. The topic what we are talking today is SCOMET, special chemicals, organisms, material, equipment, and technologies. So the first question, why? Why export control? Why do we need to control? Who needs to control? When this needs to be controlled? How this needs to be controlled? So our whole presentation is going to be around these 5 questions. So there are strategic trade controls. What are the legal frameworks? How our policy framework has been framed? How procedural frameworks have been modified? How the enforcement of penal provisions? Very important word. The first few things what I have said, it's good to know. But the last one, enforcement penal provisions, it is very, very important for everyone to understand that you are dealing with a subject which is going to cost you more than any other law. So pay close attention to that. When there is any treaty, or any arrangement or any agreement, you may say someone going to a different country abroad, they have a convention, they resolve and they sign. How that is going to become a law to me? How that is going to have an impact? So I want your attention to our Constitution, Article 51. It says very clearly, the whole purpose of 51A is different. Whole purpose of 51, promotion of international peace and security. If you go back to environmental law, you have CITES convention, wildlife conventions. When you look into all these conventions, it's all getting a backing from 51. So international treaty has to be incorporated into our legal system. The parliament has the power. So you should definitely know if any treaty which is happening outside India, or India if is getting a signatory to any arrangement, it has 100% proper legitimate legal backing. So Article 51 gives that. Article 253 of our Constitution also confers this wide and overriding power to Parliament. They can make any law. They can make any law implementing any treaty, agreements, convention with any countries, or any decision made at international conference, associations or body. So it is definitely paramount important for us to know the government designed the lawmaking provisions very clearly to avoid any conflicts. So maybe I want you to read that last paragraph, what I'm showing in the screen, how Justice Sikri addressed from Supreme Court. It is almost an accepted proposition of law that the rules of customary international law, which are not contrary to the municipal law, shall be deemed to be incorporated in the domestic law. So which means even the court is in favor of, as long as if there is no contradiction with the local laws, it has to be incorporated. So the government has the right to frame any rules and regulations, and they have done it from time to time. Today we will be seeing those things. Why this strategic control? Why suddenly we are talking about this subject? There are commitments that India made it with global in the global stage. I'm flashing some of the formal commitments. In the year 1971, we were the founding members of IAEA. 72, though we are party to it from 74, but 72, the Biological Weapon Convention had come. Chemical weapon conventions, stockpiling, destructions. So missile technology, we will see this is one of the 4 things you should remember, which controls exports of any complicated items are controlled by Missile Technology Control Regime, Wassenaar and Australian group. Now, India is fortunate to be part of these groups. Our reputation in the global stage has gone up. Of course, we never got an opportunity to become a member with NSG, which we were trying hard. China is blocking, all of you are reading that. But still, we are able to demonstrate our commitment to the international stage by signing into Wassenaar arrangement in 2017, followed by Australian group. Today, we will see we are the 42nd member that we got into this arrangement. When you hear this word of Wassenaar, don't get alarmed. Usually, if any conventions or any agreements signed, that place will be used. Hague's Code, Montreal. So they use the place, Tokyo Convention. So Wassenaar is a place name. So that is why it said Wassenaar arrangement. I'll explain that in little detail. So we have formal commitments, whatever that you see above. We also have a voluntary commitment. They are not forcing, but still India voluntarily went inside and we signed it and we became a member of Wassenaar arrangement. What is this Wassenaar arrangement? This is very important for you. India joined in this in December 2017. What is the aim of Wassenaar arrangement? To restrict, to monitor the trade of dangerous goods. So immediately you should not think, okay, dangerous goods means DGR goods. No. Very specifically, anything arms, nuclear weapons or nuclear related items, chemicals and any other weapons of mass destructions, any other material technologies used in the manufacture of any weapons, which has dual use, which means if you say that I need a scissor, we use scissor at domestic at home. We also use scissor elsewhere. So if you think that this scissor is made only to cut cloth and the weight and the material, everything, if you could able to justify it, cannot be used to cut sheets, it cannot be used for any other purpose, then it is not dual use. But if you use any item, if it has the capability to be used in military, then obviously if it falls into the hands of terrorists, they will be also able to use it. So that is the understanding that everyone who is there in the call, the word important here is dual use. Any item, when you export out of India, which is capable of dual use, then you need to raise a question. Am I allowed to export this freely or do I need to get an authorization? That's simple. You need to keep it in mind. Wassenaar arrangement has some 5 crucial principles. Number 1, it contributes to the regional and international security stability. If one country started piling up a lot of illegal arms and ammunition, which is very dangerous. Today, there are monitoring agencies which can say each country has how many missiles, how many weapons of A, B, C. To that extent, the tracking is available. It directs any state or any group. It uses export control as a means to combat terrorism. That's the underlined understanding that you need to have. Because you can't be fighting with every country. But if somebody is exporting certain items, which is having a potential use into a dual use, then obviously the customs can stop it. So a member country can stop it. So mutual cooperation between countries are very important. So how this mutual operations existed, that can only come through certain formal and informal arrangement. So this Wassenaar arrangement conceived in 1995 in a Dutch town. The name, I said, the place name is Wassenaar. So post-COVID, I'm so sorry to use the word COVID, post-Cold War, all the countries were focusing on USSR, how to disband the dangerous weapons which they had. So that time the COCOM was existing, Coordinating Committee for Multilateral Export Controls. So Wassenaar literally replaced, it became a successor for COCOM. So which means the controls of COCOM was existing from 1949, but Wassenaar came out and succeeded post-Cold War. So now, at a glance, if you want to see, it's formally established in 1996. India was party to it from 2017 December. One important thing you need to understand, China, Israel, whoever the large arms manufacturer and exporters are not part of Wassenaar arrangement. Okay, you will see why. So this 42 members, they exchange information on a monthly basis, on half-yearly basis. What are the applications that they have received, which they have approved, and what are the applications that they have rejected for whom? So this exchange of data helps all the member countries to keep a track of what items people are trying to export. A lot of intelligence behind that, which you can understand this. So a country which is party to Wassenaar arrangement having greater responsibility to destabilize the accumulation of arms. Since India done this on their own, okay, I'm not going to talk about more about Wassenaar arrangement, what it is. You can go to the web and you have a lot of information about it, which you can read it out. It talks about every 60 days, India need to notify the Wassenaar Secretariat how many applications that they have denied or proposed to transfer to Wassenaar members. So twice per year, that means 6 months once, all export license issued, transferred, need to be informed. And there are certain items which they classified as extreme vigilance are required. So those kind of a notified items, which I will show to you in the category list. So this is how monitoring system under Wasner arrangement is in place. So if any country can question back India, if they notice India, you are party to this agreement. You said that you will have tremendous export control, but we see such and such item is moving to this country without any authorization. We are answerable. So we decided that we will not take this lightly. And a couple of things the government of India has done it, which I will try to explain to you. Some years back, you all need to know, why do we sign this Wasner arrangement? Why do we give a lot of importance to this? Our deepest desire is that somehow we need to get a berth in nuclear supply group. Though we didn't sign, but China was up against us. Internationally, there are monitoring bodies. They also said, our people, our representative, whoever were present in that meeting, look, we can give you facts. We can prove that you are not a country who's capable of having a robust export control. For example, there were some items, aluminum powder. These aluminum powders, they used to coat on the missile surface. When the war was happening in Iraq, in the Scud missiles, in order to reduce the radiation, they use this aluminum oxide. The right word is aluminum oxide. This will be painted on the external surface. Now, aluminum oxide, Iraq is not producing it, so they have to import it from some other country. From which country they used to get aluminum oxide? The International Atomic Energy Monitoring Watchdogs, they found out the aluminum oxide is present in Iraq. When they backtracked it, they found out they used to import aluminum oxide from Turkey. How Iraq would able to get this item from Turkey when they still backtracked it, they could come back to India. So there is someone in India who's exporting aluminum oxide without any SCOMET approval to Turkey. From there, this is getting exported. So when this was informed to our country, immediately government of India took action against that exporter. What action they took? They invoked FTDR Act, because what can they do? They cannot, just because if you do some violation in this country, can customs invoke CRPC? They cannot. They can only invoke Customs Act, because the Act is available very clearly defined. These are the penal provisions through which whatever the punishment, penalty, redemption fines, which we all used to know about it, 111, 12, 13, 14, 17. These are the provisions which they will be invoking it. Likewise, in FTDR, when you commit a violation, an item which is supposed to be notified and you're supposed to get an approval, but you have exported the item without such approval, what will happen? They will cancel your IEC. Okay. Then what else they can do? They can impose fine. The fine amount is 10,000 rupees. You may laugh at when you hear this. That exporter was reprimanded. He paid 10,000 rupees. His IEC is blocked, deleted, whatever you can say. He very well opened another new IEC in a different company. He started doing the same thing. When this was brought to the senior bureaucrats' notice, that is when our country took this very seriously. We said, how do we prove we are not part of NSG, but we wanted to prove to the world that we are really serious about showing export controls. So we went and signed the 42nd member Wasner arrangement. Always, when you and me, when you wanted to prove to some customers, I am a complaint company, we go overboard. We also did the same thing in a couple of occasions. We did overboard. We signed, we brought in the entire schedule into our handbook of procedures. I'll tell you about what all the new changes that happened post-Wasner arrangement, how 14A amendments have come in, how we borrowed penal provisions from other acts that we will be seeing it. Before I could go there, I will also ask a question to my friends sitting over here, maybe Tej and Nirav. You can unmute your mic and you can respond to me. Till now, I have said any item which is sensitive, military use cannot be exported without an approval. We are a developing country, but still we see developed countries are also there. Do you see an armored Mercedes-Benz Maybach 600 car as a potential dual-use car?
Yes.
Yes, that's the right answer. Very good. Second question. North Korea, UN passed a sanction against them. So which means, can you believe that this car which we talked about, Maybach 600, can get into North Korea? Is there any possibility?
I don't think so.
You don't think so? Tej, what do you think?
I don't think so because of the regulations.
Absolutely right. So the whole world believes Mercedes-Benz from Germany, when they manufacture Maybach, they will not export this into a country where there is a sanction. So any exporter will definitely know where their end product is reaching. Am I right? Even for a pin, even for a chemical, if that be the case, a big CBU can never get into a restricted zone, correct? Okay. Now please watch. Can you see some picture? What is this car is all about? You said it can never get in from Mercedes-Benz Maybach 600 armored vehicle, can never get into North Korea. But our president, Mr. Kim, what is his name? Kim Jong-un, is having a fleet of cars. 2 cars he is having. If you don't want to believe that it is his car, you see this picture. Who's he? Which car he is getting out? So, 2 armored cars, Maybach, went into this country. How it is possible? Tej, how it is possible? If you can't ship out anything from Europe to North Korea, are there any other way through which they can ship the goods, and that too a sensitive dual-use goods? Which means they will possess everything. If Maybach can go, such a big car can get into North Korea, how much more chemicals, how much more other things, everything can get into North Korea. So what is the purpose of this arrangement? How this could happen? And we are not talking about 100 years back story. We're just talking about a live story. The man is living, the car is there, and we are talking about SCOMET regulation here in this country. Now you may question me also. Arey, what are you talking about? All my consignments are getting stopped by customs here, and they're saying, no, you cannot export, you need license. But a country which is having a sanction, jolly well having a Mercedes. See, immediately they contacted Daimler. See the response of Daimler. Daimler further commented on the difficult to trace vehicles except without a legitimate number plate, that the cars sold by third parties are beyond. So exporter said, boss, don't come to me. Some third parties would have sold this to somebody. Don't come and ask me. Now you do not have data to whom you have sold. Someone came, they bought it, they paid you a good price. You say, wow, I got a good deal, export. Country is also saying, wow, I'm getting balance of trade positive, so I'm getting foreign currency. We can sell. Everybody are tempted to do that. But if it goes and lands in the wrong hands, who is responsible? Can we say, oh, we are in the safe planet, I'm not bothered about other countries? Let's see further. How this transit had happened. Can you read the stage? During the transit, you're good in...
During the transit, the firm traced parts of 2 armored Mercedes Maybachs. They were shipped from Rotterdam to Osaka before reaching Busan, South Korea. The vehicles then left on another ship bound for Russia, but its track system wasn't working for nearly 3 weeks, leading to difficulties in tracing.
Wow. So how meticulously, if someone wants to move, how well they are planned. It's always say, the more than the monitoring system, more than the police, the other side is having a super bike, like in South India or everywhere you see bullet, police uses bullet. By the time they start the bullet, the thief will go 10 miles away, they use all the high-end bikes. So if that be the case, how well someone is planning meticulously to move goods, you will be shocked. Nero, please read the next slide.
Was mended and the transporters back on. The ship moved in the opposite direction with whole load instead of cars. And no records regarding the cars are available on the Russian port as well. It is suspected that 3 North Korean cargo jets would have left Pyongyang after the arrival of the Maybach carrying ships from the Russian dock.
So it looks like a story reported in CNN. You can go to the website and you can just put Maybach, North Korea, something like that. You will get a lot of articles. This was talk of the town. And if you further dig deeper, you will get to know how this tracking, you can make movies out of it. How, 2 ships are sailing, suddenly the radar is disappeared, and the coal ship converted into car ship converted into coal ship. Nobody could able to track. But finally, this is the story behind a car. So which means it is tracked now. Who sold it, when they sold it, which ship it loaded, which port it got loaded, how meticulously these things were planned, everything got tracked. So only thing, it's a matter of days. So the government is so serious. So this has happened recently.
Joshua, your voice is on mute.
Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you for highlighting it. Were you able to hear, or should I repeat? All right, I'm so sorry. Since Nero was sitting here, so I kept it on mute. So in India, everyone who are attending this call need to be very clear. There are 2 laws. One is FTDR, DGFT. Another one is Customs Act. These 2 laws are familiar to us. Even today, those who are attending the call, you may be thinking that if at all, if I violate, I would be reprimanded. Either one of this law will come into force. But please note that we have made amendments. The government of India, by making a modification in section 14A, they borrowed the penal provisions from Weapons of Mass Destruction and Delivery Systems Act 2005, Chemical Weapon Convention Act, Atomic Energy Act. Please understand, if ever that you need to talk to your customs exporters, if ever they put you under a pressure, you export this item, I will see what needs to be done. Please show them this amendment. Please tell them, now penal provisions from these acts have been borrowed to punish me, punish you. So you better be careful. For those people who do not understand what is penal provision, borrowing penal provision, let me just give you one example. When we got service tax, the finance bill enacted service tax into our country. The service tax per se do not have a penal provision. It talks about all the other aspects. So service tax will borrow penal provision from central excise. So from 11, 73, 73A, all this will come. So which means service tax borrowed penal provisions from this. Likewise, FTDR borrows penal provisions from WMD, CWC, and Atomic Energy Act. So this is very important. I hope you will take note of this. This is the, I use one word, creating a fear factor for your team as well as to your exporter. This is very important. You cannot just go and say customs is asking for this, so you give. No exporter will respect you if you ask. I'm again saying I'm not addressing to exporters, I'm addressing to the customs brokers in this country. So please take my word. Create fear factor by reading these provisions with your.
Oh, you're muted again.
Why this is happening? I'm sorry. So, what is FTDR? All of us are familiar. Why this is happening like this?
Something issues are there, sir.
All right.
Thank you.
All right. Okay. Let me just be careful next time. So, weapons of mass destruction. What is this? For those people who have not understood what is this WMD, an act to prohibit unlawful activities in relation to weapons of mass destruction and their delivery system, and for matters connected therewith or incidental thereto. So if you are dealing with weapons, if you are dealing with such manufacturers, it is imperative for you to read this act. So how do I move? Chemical weapon. So Appendix 3 of SCOMET list in the Schedule 2 of our ITC HS 2018 has this SCOMET list. All of you would have you can go to DGFT website and go to click SCOMET. You have FAQ, you also have this entire list. The export of chemicals, which is listed there in 1C, to which are the countries that can be exported is mentioned in table 1. That countries also, you can see it, around 40 plus countries will be there, 43 countries will be there. Those countries alone, you can export the goods without any authorization. Now, question comes here. If your item is classified under this list, now this CWC says that you don't need an authorization, which means you don't need a license. But they say you need to notify National Authority of Chemical Weapons Convention. Those people who are dealing with chemicals, are you aware there is an authority exists like this? Are you ever told by someone that there is a procedure like this? Very important. Take a note of it, because this is related with the items which is listed in Appendix 3. So what is the requirement? Within 30 days of your Leo, you have to file this ANF 20 form, and I have written EUC. Can anyone tell me, except our audience, can anyone unmute and tell me what is EUC? You can even chat. Let me see, anybody can give me a response. What does EUC stands for? No? Any response? Nothing yet. Okay. So EUC stands for end use certificate. End use certificate. So when you wanted to understand, is this item, our primary criteria is I'm exporting something. Is my item restricted or free? That's your first question. How do you go and understand? You have appendix, you have table, which is very clearly there. SCOMET list is available. You go and see, there is no HS code. There is no way that you can say like, okay, this is my item. Of course, note 1 will say that if there are 2 areas that your items are there, the specific will prevail. Those things are fine. But first of all, how do you understand that your items are classified in the list? That is where you need help. In case if you are not in a position to do it, you have to tell your exporter, please see the list and DGFT is currently asking declarations. Please give us declaration that your item is not falling under SCOMET. All the exporters are right and left, they are giving the declaration without even knowing what is it. You know why they are taking it's like an affidavit that they are taking. What they're saying, please, when they ask, give me a declaration that your item is not falling under SCOMET. What does it mean? That you have seen it and you have confirming back to the government, I have seen it, that none of my item which I'm exporting is falling under that list. I'll give you one example. A very genuine party recently came to me. They got a show cause notice. I cannot disclose the party name, but I can tell the description name. Triethanolamine. Okay, so this is the item. What for this item is exported? For making perfumes. Nothing but just a small quantity will be added in when they make any perfume, they will be adding. You can go to internet and you can find out. A regular exporter, a regular custom broker has no suspicion about this item and they export it out. But they got a show cause notice. Okay, if you see in the screen, okay, you're not able to see the screen, that's okay. They got a show cause notice which says that you have exported this item without any authorization. Kindly, and a lot of big stories which is coming in. Now, that customer, they came and said, is my item covered under SCOMET list? Yes, it is covered. But I am not using it for any weapons, or I'm not using it for any chemical weapons, or I'm not supplying this to any trade as unknown person. He is a globally reputed manufacturer of perfumes. Still, do I need to go and get it? The answer is yes. Why we say that? I'll just skip few slides. Again, I'll come back from this position. I'll come back to this position. Why do I say that? If you see here, one screen, very important. That's why I put it in red color. Okay. Catch all controls. Post 14 amendment, the owners of, for example, let's keep this same example. A client A is exporting triethanolamine. This triethanolamine, whether it is falling under chapter 29-22, whether export authorization required or not is a question. Now, if you read what it says, para 2.72b of Handbook of Procedure says, if an exporter has been notified in writing by DGFT, first, if DGFT ever tell you by way of a policy circular amendment or notification that triethanolamine requires license, obviously you will go and get license. Or if an exporter, he knows means an exporter knows, or the dangerous clauses, or an exporter, if he has reason to believe. Friends, this is the most important provisions in the Handbook of Procedure. Legally, somebody can view this in a different way. I'll also give that other aspect also. Time being, you keep your focus on this paragraph. If you have reason to believe that if you take a small quantity of triethanolamine and if you mix it with another element, it can give you devastating effect when you know that your item is not covered under the list, but has potential risk of use and diversion to any particular industry. If it goes into anyone's hand, then you should apply for SCOMET license. The message, what I am trying to say, no one can lift your collar and say, oh, my item is not there in the list. In Appendix 3, my item is not there. I am not supposed to go and apply for SCOMET. The government has put our onus on every exporter in the country. Look, though your item is not notified, though the item is, can you read that paragraph? How important and how nicely they have put the words. Until now, no representation has been made against this paragraph. Even in the new foreign trade policy, no association, nobody went and told the government, please remove this. You can't put a clause like this and come back to us, because you can't make us responsible. All the exporters are focusing on their business. They can't be doing this R&D work. And tomorrow it's an easy tool for you to come back and hit me. Please go ahead and read it. 2.72b of Handbook of Procedures, Volume 1. Yeah. B, the middle part. If an exporter,
If the exporter has been notified in writing by DGFT, or he knows or has reason to believe that an item not covered in this SCOMET list has a potential risk of use in or diversion to, we can apply for a SCOMET license.
What do you think? Is it something, you both are sitting sober, probably I need to only talk to you. Is it something, a good clause? This clause is not introduced or going to be introduced on 29th September, where you think, okay, the government is issuing a new foreign trade policy in which this is going to come. This is existing as of today. Have you read this? Have you ever seen this? Have anybody told you about there is a clause existing? Such dangerous, you see the heading, catch all clause. See the heading, catch all clause, not one segment, catch everybody. So when you have a sword hanging above you, how did you slept all the while without even worried about anything? When you know that you will be reprimanded just because of this clause, that's why I said, can a procedure, because handbook of procedure is a procedure. If you notify something in the procedure, it is not law, it is a procedure. Okay. So can this stand in the court, the test? That is different. It will not. Obviously, I'm giving an answer. That will throw away. Array, you write something in the procedure, but they have notified to you. Have you taken note of it post the convention? Okay, so such is the serious implementation. Though I given you some comments, positive comments that this will not pass the test, but still you should understand how important this matter is all about. Okay, now we'll go back to the place where I left. So this I said, Customs Act, you're aware. Other instruments, before that, atomic energy, okay, CWC we have seen. Okay, we came up to this point. Okay, here in the last point, other than table 1 countries, so the countries like Argentina to United States, they put it in the order. Other than these countries are only allowed, which means for these countries, you have to notify the National Authority of Chemical Weapons and also to submit the copy of bill of entry cleared in the destination country to DGFT within 30 days. Are you aware? If you are a AEO operator, please make an amendment in your AEO process that whenever that there is a export going out of country, I will invoke a catch-all clause. I will ask a question to the exporter and I will take a declaration. Is this item figuring under SCOMET list? No. Is DGFT notified something like this? The answer is no. Third, ask your exporter, do you see it, does it have a potential threat? If the exporter says no, then you are absolved. Okay. So invoke that in your AEO process. Number 2, if your export items are other than this 43 countries, you have to get this. Let's talk about the 43 countries. You don't need an authorization. Then what you need to do? Incorporate this process. National Authority of Chemical Weapons Convention, Cabinet Secretariat, DSIA department to be notified. 30 days of such exports, the Form 20 to be, ANF 20 to be submitted. And end-use certificate cannot be on your own. They have given a pro forma Appendix 2S, very clearly give you a format. Take out that format and pass it to your end-use customer and get it. Now, okay, this is for the authorization part of it, non-authorization items. Other than table 1 countries, you have to get license. That's fine. When you export these chemicals to other countries who are not party to the Chemical Weapon Convention, you see the requirement. Government in the destination country needs to sign the end-use certificate. This is not a law which is going to come. It is existing. It is existing. So to that extent, you change your process internally and then equip your exporters. So this you should be there. You must, if you're a customs broker, before you go to bed, please take a photo of the screen. Don't go to the last line only. CBLR 10F. CBLR 10F and 10D is very common. Don't go to the last line. Plus, please read 11.1 FTDR. What are the amendments? Section 14 may happen. how these additional new powers have been inherited from these sections. Definitely, if you read it, you will understand what I am telling about it. All right. Atomic Energy Act is another thing. I'll be showing how this another major shift had happened. Customs Act, you're familiar to it. Other instruments, other than that, what are the instruments? The UNSCR 1540, that is the sanctions, whatever the countries that you cannot export, that sanctions. Handbook of Procedures 2.72, which I've told you, DGFT guidelines. Recently, there is a DGFT notification which has come for export of unmanned aerial vehicles, drones. So those kind of a guidelines, how do we do, how do you apply, those guidelines will be there. Defense production SOPs, other rules and documents given by Atomic Energy Act. So these are the other things also you need to see. Now, one more question that will come in your mind. All the while we thought import is very complicated. Import has Customs Act and allied rules and regulation, about some 50 plus allied rules are there. Obviously, we have to put a lot of efforts to do that. But now please understand, export equally has a lot of responsibility for the country as well as you have to do it. You can never escape from these provisions. So to go more precise, you need to go to para 2.09 and appendix 3 of schedule 2. So these items will give you some kind of an idea where you need to see, where all that you can't be sitting and browsing through all the things. So I'm giving you in platter. Read these tables, 2.16, 2.18, 2.73 to 2.82. Take a photo or make a note and please read this provisions. 2.09 will say very clearly, SCOMET, this is your mother. SCOMET 2.09, everybody should be very familiar with it. So this is your Bible of SCOMET. Section 3.2 FTDR and this amendments 2.09, which the new chapter 4A inserted in FTDR, which is allowing, I told you, the borrowing provisions from other aspects. So it says borrowing the provision of Weapons and Mass Destruction Act to apply to export, transfer, retransfer, bought in transit, transshipment of brokering in specified goods, read with SCOMET goods, technology and other services. Catch-all control we have seen, especially read 14C, no person. So this is an amendment which is made in FTDR. No person shall export any material equipment technology knowing that such material equipment technology is intended to be used in the design or manufacture of biological weapon, chemical weapon, nuclear weapon, or other nuclear explosive devices, or in the missile system. So this you incorporate into your process and explain to your exporter. So this is how section 14C in FTDR has been amended. To that relevant handbook of procedure has been amended. And if you don't comply to it, I have showed you a slide. These are the penal provisions will be invoked on us. And Dushant has pointed out in the beginning how notices are being issued, how the tracking systems are, national customs tracking systems, targeting systems are focusing on these items. So you should be careful about it. So application for grant of authorization can be seen from this paragraph. Policy framework, these are the paragraph which I had already told you. Okay, important. Licensing authorities. Earlier, if you are dealing with SCOMET products, earlier you can see all the categories, 9 categories are completely with DGFT. Okay, so DGFT seems to be the licensing authority and it is so powerful. Now, what major amendment they have done is category 0, nuclear materials, everything is moved to Department of Atomic Energy. So you have to apply there. Of course, online, you have to pay some fees and you'll have to wait. It's not something that you can apply the license and get it in advance and then you can export. You have to first produce your goods. You have to explain very clearly what is the dimension of the cargo, what is the product, packing list, invoice, from which port of loading that you're going to export, where is the destination. All the details needs to be given, which means after you produce the goods, it's like carting order. Before you get the carting order, you need to apply for a license and then hold the goods in a bonded warehouse or in your warehouse or in an FTWZ. A beautiful way for you to understand, somebody in the industry, there's a company called Siddharth Logistics. I'm sure somebody would have heard about it. They have a FTWZ. They are meticulously using this provisions. When you must have heard about defense offset contracts, okay, which means any foreign company who comes in and they say that we manufacture for you guns, aircrafts, anything. So the contract says, offset contract says, 70% of the cargoes you can do it. 30% you have to source it from India. So, for example, in a very simple way to put it across, if there is a missile launcher like Tata bus or Tata lorry, okay, in which you have to mount a missile. So the Tata truck can take the missile to different places. In such case, the whole technology comes under missile, which is 70%. Truck is only a transporting equipment, but still it needs to be aligned with the controls and other stuff. So what the foreign company will do, they will come and give an order to Tatas. And Tatas are responsible to manufacture the truck and other infrastructure, etc. Then they will send the truck to that foreign country. So the truck will travel from India in whatever form, it may be a CBU form or it may be in SKD form. It will travel from India to that country. That country will put all the missiles on top of it and they will test and they will do some trials. If everything is working fine, they will again disassemble the entire thing. They will ship it back into India. So the whole purpose of 30% cargo manufactured in India going out of India, again coming back, sometimes they don't even open it. It's only for the one sample they do the testing and the remaining items will come along with the remaining 70% into India. So in that case, you can hold this item in an FTWZ. You don't need to export because according to customs law that you have exported and you can take the proceedings. On the other hand, the 70% will come to FTWZ. There they will do all the assembling and they will supply to Indian Army or Navy, wherever the contract is given. Okay. So defense offset is using. So when they prepare these items, when they move it to an FTWZ, they'll park it. They don't need to waste that 60 days, 90 days of SCOMET approval time. So that is how they are saving it. So you need to innovatively think how you can save the transactional cost and the turnaround time because of SCOMET. So a re-engineering on the process is also recommended. Okay, going back to the other categories. Category 6 munition list is moving to defense. So that earlier with DGFT. So these are the two changes that you need to move. So if any of your items are falling under the ammunition list, then you need to go to the Defense Secretary, atomic to atomic energy. The remaining everything was DGFT. Of course, DGFT has gone through certain amendments recently. You would have heard about it. So I'm talking about the old DGFT standards. What are in category 0? These are the items which you yourself can read it out. I don't need to explain all these things. So category 0, category 1, what are the items? Category 2, microorganism means what are the things are listed over there. Okay. 3, 4, 7 is reserved. Ammunition list 7 is reserved for future use and 8 is special materials. All right, procedural work. Application for SCOMET license to be made in ANF. So those procedures are there. What are the documents to be enclosed? Where it has to be applied? Those procedures are listed along with the FAQ. So please go to dgft.gov.in, click SCOMET, click the FAQ. You will see the questions there. So all your questions, whatever questions possibly that you can think of, everything they have asked and they have explained it over there. Okay. Category 6 end use is mandatory for you. So this is a procedural framework. Suppose if you start applying it, online application, average time, how much time it will take. In case if it is a defense ministry category 0, stakeholders will take 15 days. The joint secretary will take another 15 days. Steering committee, defense minister. So this is how the process. So altogether you need to estimate 2 months time for getting an application processed. So now application scope. So technology, contract, this kind of a thing. So how do you apply? So when you see this application form where they are asking you to disclose all this information as well. For example, software, one of the word which is there, software, technology. So all softwares are not covered. So that has been explained in the definition. A collection of one or more programs or micro program fixed in any tangible medium of expression. However, unless otherwise provided for against any item of SCOMET list, the list does not control software. which is either in the public domain, package software or downloadable software, generally available to public, but sold from stock or retailing sale point. So that kind of a clarifications are there. So as a broker, that you should not expect only, okay, the list doesn't contain. So every aspect, every pages needs to be, the 80 pages needs to be understood. Like for example, technology. When technology is described wholly as part, what is the explanation 1 and explanation 2, which is self-explanatory, which you can read it. Other important definitions. So one best thing what you need to keep in your mind is, like for example, bearings. In a daily basis that we use bearings. Bearings are being used in fan, in any rotary converter, energy converted into any rotary movement, bearings are used. Okay. But when the inner dia and the outer dia, when it is exceeds in this dimension, immediately you need to raise an arm. So when you when you see a normal trader or an exporter, they come out with some kind of bearings to be exported, you will never have any doubt. They say, oh, okay, bearing, we can just classify 84, 82 and we'll export it. No, immediately you should ask for the dimension of the bearing. What is the inner dia? What is the outer dia? Then you should check. Okay, if it is exceeding this, then obviously it will not be permitted. He may say, no, I'm using this for a pump set, which will be used in some agriculture. Definitely, you should ask questions. End use is very important. So for you to understand every category which is mentioned in the appendix, you have to read it. So how do you do that? Every exporters in this country are having one department called Export Control Department. Have you heard about it? Like, for example, recently I was interacting with one person from a big MNC. He says that I head export control. He is paid a hefty salary. He doesn't do anything. The EXIM team takes care of everything. All their export, import activities, everything. He's just sitting inside as a watchdog to do certain defined work. In very simple terms, you know, what is his responsibility? He made it clear. We export thousands of items, component level, thousands of component level, as well as assembly, sub-assembly, parts, we export. My team has a software. Anyone in the world comes and gives me a part number to me and tells me, tell me, where is this item? I will be able to tell them in a minute that this item was exported out of India to this country. It is used in this particular plant for this purpose. Total quantity exported 100, 15 used, 85 is remaining in the shelf number so and so. Have you understood? Which means he is responsible to track every dual use item. Whether an item which is dual use or not is his responsibility. Then after exporting, to track, apply, and to monitor. So this is how they have an export control team globally. So this export control team reports to their global compliance officer, and they are ready to give any feedback to the government at any given point in time. So if you think gone are those days where exports are handled by supply chain or logistics team, now export control team is mandatory. Maybe you as a broker can deploy a secondment over there for that purpose. There is a cost. It doesn't come freely. There is a software cost, there is a manpower cost, there is an operational cost, there's a personal cost. So this complaint doesn't come freely. This complaint doesn't come, okay, I will put one staff, he will monitor. It doesn't come in that way. So there is a concept globally under the Wasner arrangement which prevails called GVC, Globally Validated License. When in 2018, the government did not have that, but now they have. For intercompany transfer, I'll show you one slide, they have it. Okay, so such is the way that you need to understand. So that is why I'm showing this technology, software, certain important definitions. Due to paucity of time, I'm just skipping a couple of things. Defense offset, I've just clarified to you. Okay, so now ultimately you wanted to know what is the penal provision. The penal provision is weapons and mass destruction says 3 lakhs to 20 lakh is the fine amount. Earlier it was 10,000 rupees. Then second offense, if you do it, imprisonment 6 months to 5 years. And in addition to the fine. Okay, so which means you have an imprisonment and you have a hefty fine. Keep that in the back of the mind. Okay. Besides, okay, this is what I said, globally validated license. So this is also explained in Indian context is known as GAICT, Global Authorization for Intra-Company Transfers, para 2.79F Volume 1 Handbook of Procedure talks about it. DGFT had given a notification. I had given you the notification also. So except Annexure 1 in category 8, all other items can be applied. Okay. So countries, which are the countries are eligible? This Argentina, Australia, all the countries in table 1 are eligible. So the notified ANF form is also notified. So you apply. So basically, how do you understand this? Every time you go and get a license for every shipment costing you more. So if your goods are going from your company to another company who further manufactures, so you're exporting parts, components, the other country is receiving that as an input and they process it and they make a finished goods. So it is intra-company transfer. So you're not selling to the end user, right? In that case, you can apply for globally validated license, that is GICT, telling them this is how that I'm applying it. So one license is valid for 3 years. SCOMET license is valid for 2 years. So this is valid for 3 years. So then you are reducing your cost of applying this license. And so basically what you're saying is, internally, I have a sound licensing control system. I have a good export control system. So I'm able to run this in every part level, I'll be able to control. So you should be able to strike some discussions with your exporter and make them understand. In case if they say it is a big problem for us, how do we get rid of it? You can make use of this suggestion to them. Okay, show cause notices are being issued by principal ADG, RMCC, intimation about this non-compliance. That is how the first trigger happens. They say this such and such items are covered under category 0 to category 8 under appendix so and so of SCOMET list issued by DGFT. There is no license have been obtained. This is how this much drawback they have claimed post export, this much IGST refund they have. So they'll ask you to give all this money back. They'll ask you to explain why the penal provisions which I have suggested you will not be invoked. So this you need to be very clear. So whatever I'm talking is not going to come. It is already existing. It is there in your books, and it is as of today you need to start making the changes. So the recent policy which has come out called GAED, or that is General Authorization for Export of Drones. So what they say, category 5B has been amended to this effect. So no authorization required when it is only flying for a particular distance and it can only take a limited weight, 20 kgs or so, then no authorization required. So all other things, interministerial working group will review and they have the right to approve or disapprove. So that license is valid for 3 years. Quarterly reporting, which they will do. Record keeping for 5 years is mandatory. So you should maintain a hard copy as well as you should maintain a soft copy. Okay. Whenever there is an embargo which is imposed, those countries you cannot apply for GAED. That you need to keep it in your mind. So this is the latest amendment. Now, okay, I'm going to open this to my friends. Have you heard about compounding offenses? Customs Act. Maybe audience or I have only few people with me. Nirav, have you ever heard about compounding offense?
Yes, sir.
You have heard about it. Okay. Tej, you have heard about compounding offense?
Yes.
You heard about it. Very good. So I think all of you have heard about it. Second question. Is SCOMET violation covered under compounding offense?
It would be.
It would be. Okay. Okay, you?
Unaware.
Very honest answer. One person says it would be, another person says, I am unaware. Some of you, for the benefit of compounding offense is nothing but another alternative scheme for settlement. And it has come in 2005, long back. My purpose is not to explain compounding offense, so I'm not going to go about compounding offense. You can read it by yourself. But I wanted to show, okay, what is compounding offense? This is a dictionary meaning. As per Black's Law Dictionary, what they say, that's not my purpose, so I'm not going to explain that to you. You can read it in section 137 in your 137 subsection 3, which talks about compounding offense. Okay, now what we need to see here is legal provision relating to compounding. A person involved in smuggling of goods under, if you violate a SCOMET item, if you don't take authorization or license, you are smuggling the goods out of India. Like this aluminum oxide, which was exported out of India, was smuggled. That punishment cannot come under compounding offense. See, C1 very clearly says SCOMET as specified in Appendix 3 out. So this also you keep it in mind. tomorrow when there is a huge penalty imposed on you, and you may say, I prefer to go under compounding offense, because compounding offense, I'll show you, whatever violation that you are making, this is the compounding amount. Some brilliant lawyers can suggest you, why don't you prefer? Most of them are unaware, that is a different thing. Even if somebody is aware, if they prefer to do that, we are not going to talk about compounding offense here. But the point of the matter is, even there, the government kept it outside. That's all I wanted to communicate to you. Okay. So such is the impact of SCOMET. So a simple topic, one paragraph in your policy, in your handbook of procedures, created such an havoc. The country is floated with so many show cause notices. And what is the responsibility of a customs broker? Matter is very, I won't use the word serious, it is important. Matter is very important. So please take out some time and spend some time. There are quite a few experts which we have already trained in BCBA. Few management committee members, they are indulging into this kind of a, like Paresh Thakurji and Nirav Thakur, Tej and all. And even this was created as a curriculum in IAFT. A complete teaching will be there in a very granular level. Attend these kind of a courses and get yourself familiarized and educate your exporter. Instead of educating, create the fear factor in them. And with the proofs, this presentation is shareable, so you can take it, you can distribute, you can use it, and create an environment of compliance, and don't get into unwanted catch-all clause and ruin your license. And I wish you all the best to all the people who have attended patiently. And I wanted to put it across in this way. I will never give you a direct answer to any of your questions. One, is this item classifiable under this? There won't be an answer because it has to be researched. So if you have specific, you can write to the secretariat. Surely I will guide you on that front wherever you required. And in that way, unless you don't read it, unless you don't understand this in detail, you will not be able to enjoy the questions and the answers. So I just hand it over with this conclusion back to our Honorable Secretary, Dr. Nirav Thakur, to take it forward. Yeah, over to you, Nirav.
Thank you, Mr. Joshua. This was a wonderful session, and yes, there is a lineup of quite a few questions. Kate, can we have the questions posed forward?
Thank you very much. Wow, what an enlightening session. Who has had fun? If you have, just raise your hands. Okay, so we start with the first question raised by Mr. Bharat Mistry. Joshua sir, this is to you. What is the sudden request for the SCOMET letter? Could you just brief us on the same?
No, what is that?
What is the sudden request for SCOMET letter? Could you please brief us?
So the whole idea is the government is saying that you are aware about 2.72 clause, catch-all clause. You are aware that your item, you have checked it, and you're confirming back saying that there's no, my item does not fall under SCOMET. So it's like an affidavit that they're taking tomorrow to punish. It's as simple as that.
Well, that is so well put. It's an affidavit being taken tomorrow to punish you. So please be careful what you're submitting before you do so. There are some specific questions raised, which we request you please send email to the Secretariat. Our next question is raised by Mr. Thakur. Many times a CB or an exporter is unaware of the applicability of SCOMET. However, what is the enforceability or what is the action if the exporter acquires a SCOMET license after the cargo has been destuffed and under custody of customs, or we can say at hold by customs? Can it be exported after acquiring the license, or will it be held for further investigation?
So the current scenario is recently one more case came to me. Approximately $40,000 worth of export moved into Navasheva, in which $2,000 of item which pertains to SCOMET. $40,000 worth of item stopped by CIU and they have seized the goods. Exporter thought, I know commissioner, I know so-and-so, I'll just give them a call and my goods will be done. Or you keep the $2,000 worth of SCOMET goods in your warehouse, release the remaining goods. Seems to be a legitimate request, but customs till date, entire goods has been seized, and even his other goods are on hold. He came under so many obligations, till now they have not released it. And they are invoking all the penal provisions on the exporter for that violation. No mercy, no mercy. Including principal commissioners could not do anything. You know, they say you are genuine. We agree, but we can't help it. Yeah, that serious it is.
So very much in line with our domain, the importance of studying a document before filing is become rather crucial. So please make sure you advise and sensitize your customers on the same. Question by Mr. Darshan Raval. Does the requirement of SCOMET appear while checking for HS code? So to rephrase the question, is there a ready place where one can check HS code wise the applicability of SCOMET?
Sir, my humble submission to you is, if you follow my presentation, I've told you this is not like a ready knocker, like you see this HS code and you see the description, whether it is covered or not. No, that is why I'm again and again telling you, take one item, you ask the question, is it a dual use item? How do you know? You don't know. You as a broker, you don't know. You have to fall back under the two-area exporter and you need to ask. His immediate response is no. So you open Appendix 3 and you check there. So that is where intelligence required. That is where you have to become Regulation 10. If you have, since you have asked it, let's go to Regulation 10. Regulation 10 of CBLR says one thing. Okay, I'm reading it. D, I'm reading D. Advise his client to comply with the provisions of the Act, other allied acts, and the rules and regulation thereof. So, which means you are expected to behave like a consultant and advise your client. Your exporter will not know, you should know. So for you to know, you should read whatever the provisions which I have explained to you. Once you read it, you get a holistic idea and you may not ask this question, can we compare this with, correlate with the HS code? Yeah, next.
Thank you very much for explaining so candidly. It is important, Darshan, for us to make sure that we study our documents and advise our clients. There is no ready reckoner per se. Mr. Dinesh Unnikrishnan, in one of the scenario, we want to export some designs to Indian defense along with technology. The said designs are being handled by people outside of India. The order is placed on the Indian entity where it has employees outside India who handles the information and technology to which it is provided to the Indian defense. Is there any ITAR equivalent regulation in connection with, in India, in connection with exports?
Since you said defense, I'll give you an example. A L-rod angle, a 90-degree angle, to hold a monitor in a naval ship is manufactured by some company in Powai. For this, if you see this law, if you are a custom broker, as a metal 73 item or just a clamp, if you see a big monitor, you wanted to hold it. So you need just making one L clamp. This item requires SCOMET license because it has a normal angle, can withstand a weight of, let's say, 100 kgs. This can bend the tensile strength, the material what they have used, which cannot be easily, it will not, corrosion will not happen. It will not break. Your normal iron or steel will break. But outward look, it makes just a simple L clamp, just to hold a monitor. Now, as a broker, we have absolute, so you need to ask for the made of, what material has been used here, and what is the speciality of this particular L clamp which is used in the naval ship. When you ask that question, it requires SCOMET letter. So every item you need to ask a question in that level, and then only you will be able to come to a conclusion. Number two, end use. Like in this case, you have pointed out very clearly, it is for defense. So if end use is not clear, if end use is not visible to us, very difficult for us to make a judgment on that. That is why I'm recommending you, all of you people, I'm just reading all the question. It's all out of your knee-jerk reaction. You're putting certain questions to me. My recommendation would be, I will take all the questions in a chat box. I will read, and wherever it is a sensible question, I will give an answer. Okay. But I can only request you, don't stop after the session immediately. The presentation will reach you in next 1 or 2 hours. Take it, read the provisions by yourself. A lot of the questions which you had posted, you will get an answer there. FAQs, SCOMET list, and general understanding about Wasner arrangement and all this kind of things. And specifically whatever the provisions which I had mentioned there. And then if you still have any specific questions, you write to me. We are happy to guide you further on that, to you as well as to your exporter, definitely.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah. Cool.
So we will, if anybody has any further questions, since we are running paucity of time, we request you to please send an email to the secretary and we'll be happy to address the same and answer your question. Moving further, I pass it on to Nirav. Nirav, please request proceedings further.
Thank you. Thank you, Tej. Thank you. Take it further, I think, as because of the paucity of time. Here, I would like to address the vote of thanks. To begin with, sir, frankly, no one would have been able to explain this topic in a much better way, sir. The way you have explained us you've covered the agreements, the policies, going further with authorities, controls, procedures, penal actions, everything. And you've explained each and everything with, great examples, so that it fits well into, our mind. Frankly, when to many of us, just on a lighter note, SCOMET, very sounds quite, synonym with, not synonym, but it's similar to, when I say comet, and it's more of astronomy and things which are beyond in the space. And comet as a topic is really to many of us. But now, we have at least understood how careful we are supposed to be. Of course, we need more training from you, much more detailed, sessions where we will understand it in a way. So thank you once again for, covering all this topic beautifully. Dushan bhai, I see you have some something to mention here.
Yeah, so just one point on behalf of all our members, BCBA members, Joshua sir, that suppose a consignment is put up for export. Two scenarios. One scenario where at the time of export, they find the alert and they hold the shipment, and then whatever legal formalities happen, that's a separate issue. There have been cases where consignments brought in the export shed, carted, examined, LEO given after examination and by the superintendent, examiner and superintendent both. LEO given, taken by airline to overseas destination, and thereafter custom brokers have been made party to the show cause notice with directions being given to take action under CBLR 10N, 10D, 10O, whatever. We would be definitely, we are under process of representing with authorities that it is not us alone. The officers also have examined and mindfully they have given the LEO. So the omission has been on part of both the sides. It is not only on the one side. So we are representing, but in such cases, wherever our custom brokers will have any points, issues as an association, once we get something, we'll revert back to you for any help to our brokers. You're muted.
Okay. So what we need to keep one thing in mind is, before you approach the authority also, we as a country obligated to tell the member country that these items of SCOMETs have been exported with license. These are without license. So it's not something if it is stopping with customs board member or chairman, he may consider, okay, Dushant, you have done it out of ignorantly. I can pardon you. Let it go. I know that you are a genuine person, but it is not like that. That is what you need to understand. It is not, I am a genuine person. I exported this. Only one bag of this SCOMET item was there. Some people come and say, I've been exporting this item for last 10 years. Nobody stopped us. So which means even the customs officer to be reprimanded. Answer is yes. But the awareness of these things are not there. That is why they have a separate monitoring division, which monitors even post-Leo to track it and then send a notice. Because they had the powers inherited under Section 14A amendment. It is not saying that prior to Leo, post-Leo, exported out of India, non-compliance. So which means, that's what I highlighted in the compounding offense also 137, that they had kept it outside. Which means this cannot be pardoned under any other settlement. So such is a serious law behind it. So it cannot be taken that I am focused, I am made responsible. So when you draft a contract with your exporter itself, try to include a clause in the event if it comes to know that there is a SCOMET item, if customs is holding that the entire shipment or anything, that we are not responsible. You need to absolve in whatever the way that you can and make the responsibility is not on the broker. The broker is besides 10D, you also have 10F. 10F is important. What they're saying is not withholding any information. Now, customs exporter will say, you are in the business. This law has come 2016, 17, changes have been made. Why did you not communicate this to me? You know, you can put a claim on this. Besides customs, exporters can put a claim on you. So how do you absolve those areas also to be seen? So that purely a commercial level of thinking in line with this new dangerous beast, which is there. See, I use the word beast for TFA, so many other things, which is not directly affecting you, but here it is affecting you in terms of monetary. Your whole consignment is on hold. Imagine what kind of a pain of order losing, etc., etc., etc. So it calls for prudence that you need to take this level into my recommendation is to the next level of every region workshop level. Because if you go to some areas where they may not follow English, you need to speak in Gujarati, Punjabi, Tamil, Karnataka. You know, every region needs to, every brokers, everyone must know this. Because if it is dangerous, it has to be communicated. If it is cool, then it can be cool. It is not a cool subject. It is a dangerous subject. So you have to make sure that every region understands. So all the secretariat need to take this forward. That's my humble submission. Then when you all raise up your voice, exporters will be educated. Then rule regulation 10F. So proofs can be given. We have conducted course. We have given this declaration. We have sent this email to all the exporters, and completely this will help you to come out from any impact against you.
Thank you. Well noted. Over to you, Nigam.
Thank you. We need any, if there are any other panelists also would like to add here at this point of time, or else we can take it further. Vinayak, Sanjeev ji.
Taking it further, this wouldn't have been actually possible without your conceptualization of this forward, because it was you who identified that this is so important, and this comment as a topic, because it's we all are not very much well aware and versed with the topic. So thank you for taking this initiative, President sir, and also the office bearers and the panelists.
Presenting and supporting in making this successful, sir.
Thank you, Tej, for moderating with the question and answers, and I mean the audience is quite satisfied. We see a good number here. All the managing committee members who have given their inputs to ensure that the Mr. Joshua is able to identify those topics which would be very much beneficial for the custom brokers. The secretariat for all the arrangements with registration for today. Today we have audience all over India. today attending, and massive record-breaking number of 485 plus. And thank you for sharing all the questions, and we assure you that all the questions will be answered. We will share it with Mr. Joshua. He will be providing the answers, the presentation, the video. We all will be sharing it with all the members for the benefit. So thank you once again for being a great audience here.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Joshua. Thank you, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Thank you everyone. Thank you, Joshua.
Oh, thank you, sir. You're most welcome.